Yo, what up? It's your boy. We're back at it again for another source code video then. So today I want to do some beginner tips, things that I've learned while playing the game, things that just are generally helpful, and you should probably know. The first thing that everyone should know, should just remember, is to never forget to collect your Gabumon rewards. The left ones, they scale with your passive resource collection, and the right one you can collect 2 hours worth of rewards for free on the first time, and then after that it starts costing crystals, right? Now, I don't ever suggest paying for the extra ones, but the first one that is free you should always remember to collect, right? It is a basic, right? The second thing I want to go over is something that people actually ask a lot. If this is the type of game that you should reroll for, in case like you really want a banner Digimon or something like that, I would say no. Just never reroll, okay? I don't think there's a single case where you can come out on a better outcome from rerolling. Just because, first, all the banners are timed, and second, all the banners for LR Digimon, they have DPS events that are tied to some sort of ranking, and not hitting the DPS like as soon as possible does get you cut out of a lot of rewards in the game, and that's something that you should probably try to avoid. Not to say that you should like race to have that amount of DPS, but you know, there's no point in delaying it if the banner is gonna go away anyway. Also, and this is something you should know, the banners do have a limit of how many pulls you can buy with your crystals, right? So as free to play, on the LR banners at least, you are very limited on how many copies you can get, right? Because you can only, with crystals, you can only buy 10 pulls a day for the duration of the banner. Which, yeah, this hold you back quite a lot, because the rest of the pulls, if you want to buy more, you can only buy them with the paid crystals, not the free ones. For UR banners though, you can probably just save up during a month and like get you the Digimon a lot better, like I did with this Machine Drum. I believe I got it to like +4 or +5 on release just from saving up a lot of crystals from the other events. Because I don't think this game is generous in that sense, right? It's just not good when it comes to LR Digimon. Another thing that I should just remind everyone, like this is more basic gacha game knowledge, but just do your dailies, right? The Tamer Exp is it's capped to level 100, so you know we'll never go beyond that, but you want to reach this goal as soon as possible, because that means your Digimon can also go up to level 100. Random pulls for Digimons, right? You're gonna be getting a lot of these USBs daily, and I would suggest buying this if you don't mind like spending a little bit in the game, because just the pulls, the way that they work in this game for random Digimon, you're gonna get like a champion, rookie, or ultimate from this, and the more pulls you do, the better it gets. But if you pay for this, you just get the max value right away, and you also get the chance to pick a stat for your to show up more often, right? And that's something that helps you greatly in like some of the competitive aspects of this game. If you don't care about it that much, I would just say just keep these USBs in mind, because you will need a lot of them. Like I shown, this like 2,000 you need to have used to max it out, right? So as free to play, it's just a race until you get all those done. And you can even buy some extras, like here, every time you reach... Hold up, let me move my face to the side. Here, every time you reach a new level cap, you can just buy these boxes for more pulls, right? So if you're thinking about getting there faster, you can do this. Personally, I just think it's too expensive, but that's why I didn't buy any other ones that didn't interest me. And yeah, that's kind of how it works for this system. And if you're wondering about what stats matter, just focus on percentage. Speed percentage and attack percentage are the best ones. I would say speed matters if you're thinking about PvP, and attack percentage matters if you're thinking about everything else in the game. The next thing I need to go through is just resource collection, right? I do have like a previous video that goes into the details of this system, so I'm not gonna spend too much time here. But just know that this is a system that it will grow as you progress on the story, so you're gonna get all the slots unlocked eventually. But this system allows you to farm fishes, food items, stones that you use when you limit break a Digimon. Money doesn't matter that much. And most importantly, just the XP to level your Digimon, which, when you're starting out, at first it's gonna seem like you have a lot of, but you won't. Especially by the time you're getting to level 70 or 80, you're gonna start to notice there's a little bit of a choke. And if you spread too thin on a lot of Digimons, you probably run out very fast. Getting some good Digimons here matters, and one thing you should know, you can see that the numbers here are very different per Digimon. And that is because as you limit break the Digimons, you upgrade them with the evolution shards, they will have their number grow. First it will be the first number and then the second one. And then you can just put them in whatever resource collection you like. And this just increases the base value, so I would say that like in a super late game scenario, you would ideally like to have all of these filled with max ranked Digimon, right? But earlier on, just put what you have here, don't stress it too much, just keep in mind that it can't be empty. That is it. And the next thing I want to go over is the Digimon menu. All the buttons here on the right of this menu, they're gonna be unlocking as you progress through the story. They have like specific chapters that they unlock on. And the only ones that really are impactful, I would say, is just the factors are somewhat impactful, but they are very much a late game system, so you wouldn't worry about it too much. Just fill it up when you can. The skills, it matters because you can have access to the skill tree, and there's a lot of passive buffs here. I believe your Digimon level matters to this one as well, like level 35 or 40 or something like that. The plugin slots, these really matter because if you get them to level 10, you can equip the golden ones, and these just boost your stats a bit. Equipment, of course, it's equipment. Of course it matters. It's simple. And the last one is the synergies, right? You're gonna have the two domains that the Digimon is from. Like you can see here, my WarGreymon is light in the battle domain, or fighting domain. And then the last thing we unlock in the game is this synergies, where you can put combinations of Digimons. They can check on this little book. And you can pick out buffs for having the amount of Digimons here. Which means that it's also important, and this is the tip here, it's important to have a lot of Digimons at +0, even if you don't plan on using them, because they can be used both for resource collection and for this system, right? So sometimes you're just gonna need to have more Digimons, because it's more buffs that you can take advantage of, right? Like for example, my Machiner one can take advantage of 3 different buffs just because of me having different enough Digimons that are on the same domains as him. Okay, now that I went over all that information, gave you guys some time to digest it, let's just go over things that matter to like get on your rotation while playing the game, right? First thing is this chest. It resets every week, and you gotta remember that leveling these up gives you a lot of weekly rewards, right? First level is depending on what level of the weekly bosses, the Pinocchimon, Metal Seedramon you do. And the higher you get the levels, the better the equipment you're gonna get, right? Second thing is just the plugins that you get from the daily bosses, and by these you just get on your 3 daily runs. And it doesn't matter that much like what boss you do, because the plugins are always random. But this one, I'll go over the other one in a second. This one matters because it's the helping someone in the bosses or doing runs, like 3 runs or 4 runs after you've done the boss runs of the day. It will give you these capsules that will help you way later in the game when you're messing with the Digimon's factors, right? And if you're not aware, Digimon's factors, this system here, right? So getting the capsules here will be very useful later in the game. And the last thing that I skipped, this one is a bit more try-hard, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's just that by playing PvP and ranking high on the PvP, you will level this box, and you only max it if you're on the top 3 of your server, so don't worry about it too much. It only gives you this currency, which you can use to buy, I believe, food recipes, and that's it. And after that, it's just a dead currency you have in your inventory, because there's nothing else you can use it for. So, it doesn't matter that much. But it may matter if you're just playing casually, because you will eventually need to interact with this one and get foods for the Digimon you like. I want to get into, since we're just talking about food, I want to get into the cooking system, right? I would say, like, largely you may think this system does not matter that much, but it does, just because every Digimon has a little bond level with the little face icon, right? And it is something you can level up. But what really matters from this is that this system dictates the Digimon's max level. And you will have to interact with it a lot, because I believe you only get your Digimon's max level when the bond level reaches 14. So from 13 to 14, right? Which means that for every Digimon you are serious about using later on, you will need to max this out, you will need to cook for them, and get this leveled up. The system also has other buffs and bonuses for interacting with the factors later, but you don't need to think about that too much earlier on, because you're already gonna be leveling them to 100, but your favorite ones, level them up as much as you can, okay? There's a ceiling to this, I believe it's level 20, I'm not sure. But yeah, just know that there is a ceiling. And basically you're gonna be using a lot of your food resources here by literally learning and remembering what's food is your Digimon's favorite food and what items are used to make it. At least you don't have to play the minigame every time though. Next one. This one is a golden tip, okay? Very important one. Do the Endless City. Okay, this mode, this game mode, it changes your progression, okay? You might be thinking, okay, but it doesn't make any sense. Why would I do this too much? There's so many levels. Like, I'm on level 422, why would anyone do this too much? Two things. First one, bottles. They help you get eggs and do dungeons, and like, help with clearing this main story. But also can give you some card packs later on, which is a very limited resource otherwise. And most importantly, the Mega Badges, which are the things I use to buy evolution shards. You not only get 1 per level, but every block, which means every set of levels, you're gonna be getting 10 of them. So it's important for you to try to push as much as you can every week, because that would mean that you're getting more resources that week. But there's clearly a ceiling that you're gonna hit depending on your team's power, right? So what I would suggest, just hit that ceiling, go back, try again. There's even like ranking rewards and daily rewards you can get from this. So as you can see, you can, depending on the ranking you get on your server, right? You're gonna get some rewards, and then there's daily rewards, so it does matter. But it will depend on like how good you are in the game's progression compared to everyone else in your server, right? I would definitely say to not stress it too much. But one thing that you can use these ranking systems for is that you can check everyone else's that's on your server and their teams, right? To get some inspiration if you want. And yeah, Endless City is important. Next thing I need to mention, and this is gonna get a little bit more into the game's combat in itself, is energy economy for your team. What I mean by that is that, like, your Digimon in its skills, it will regenerate a little bit of energy, as you can see by right here. There's the little chew. The Digimon is gonna regenerate a certain amount of energy each turn, and the skills cost that amount of energy that you're gonna gain minus that, so you're gonna need to be sure you're above, right? And use basic attacks to like refill your energy when you're low. And this might not matter too much for PvP because the battles are usually short, but for modes like the Endless City or modes like the longer battle modes like the LR banners and such, you will need a lot of energy used and good economy to survive them. Because sometimes, even though you can use a 6 cost skill, it doesn't mean you should use one. And this also enters into a big topic of team building, that is having a battery type Digimon. A funny one is the best example because it's the better one and it's also the free one. But she can give the buff for one of her teammates that they gain 1 energy instantly, and they also will generate 1 more energy in all of their turns for the next 3 turns, I think. You can even extend that with 4 turns with plugins, but you know, it's a really good buff to have. And it's the type of thing that you will, like, early on it may not matter too much because you're just deleting the enemies and they are deleting you, and it's like everyone does so much damage, right? But later on, when you get to using your strongest skills and you're not even taking half of the enemy's health, it just starts to sink in. Or when you're doing a boss that just doesn't die, right? And that's where, like, the energy economy you're having really matters. Continuing with that trend, I would also suggest that you don't just only run DPS Digimons. Because you will need a healer, especially if you get to doing Endless City or if you get to doing PvP. You will need some sort of healer, but you may also need some sort of Digimon that does battery functions for your team. Because a lot of teams, they do really well on the first and second turns, but eventually you're gonna run into modes that, like, can go for up to... What's the longest I've seen? Like 24 turns? The longest I've seen? Yeah. But because in situations where your Digimon won't die, but the enemy's not gonna kill you, and you're just gonna be there for a long time, doing as much damage as you can. So yeah, that's the main, like, battle tips, at least for team building. I can go back into that a little bit later, but one thing you should also know, if there's like a debuff or something you want to know about, there's this sword icon here. You can always just tap on it and read a debuff, then translate, right? It's very easy. You can even see the enemy's HP or the amount of energy they have. This next one is a minor tip, but it's probably something a lot of people have missed. There's a little button on the corner when you finish a battle. You can use it to see the amount of damage each Digimon did, the healing amount, and yeah, you can get a lot of information from here. Especially if you're thinking about, like, did I do more damage than last time? Did I, was my Digimon effectively better than before? Or what can I improve on? This is a really good metric. Now, it's time for me to talk about him. I've been putting this off for too long. WarGreymon, right? I feel if you've been watching this content for a while, you've probably seen me mention this guy like once or twice for everyone. At least, often enough. It may be even getting tiring for some people. Roger's gonna go over the reasons why here, so there's no reason to go over it again. First one, he's a free Digimon. You get his evolution items for free by clearing chapter 3-7, so quite early in the story. And they also give you an Agumon, so got nothing to lose there. But not only that, you can buy 20 of his evolution items on the evolution shop, right? Every week, so I suggest that you do. And he will be one of the first Digimons that you max out. Like, for example, on my case, right? It was the first Digimon that I put to plus 10. Second thing, he has 2 really busted skills and a really busted passive. I'm just gonna go over them. The passive is just a 40% chance they get to ignore 25% of the enemy's defense, which isn't too much, but it is pretty big. And you can swap this one out with this other passive that does extra damage to enemies above 80% health, right? So you just have two damage increase passives that you can use. Since some enemies are never gonna go below full health, you can just use this for free damage. And since some other damages, or rather some other enemies, they will be sticking around for a while, and you may want to finish them off quick, you can use this one, right? The other one, I would say it's good for PvP because it saves you from one lethal blow, but it's just PvP. I wouldn't change my skills just for PvP. The other two skills, this one is just, you lose 35% of your health, which sounds bad, but hear me out, okay? You do 2 hits of 125%, which, if you're not aware, there's not a single skill that is of cost 3 or 4 that does as much damage as this one. Simple, okay? There are other skills that can reach a similar potential damage, but they have luck based to them, and this one just hits there. And the other skill, it is a combo skill, but we're not using it for the combo, trust me. This as a combo skill, not really good, so if you're using Metal WarGreymon, I wouldn't suggest using this one too much. Unless you can use, your Metal WarGreymon is faster, and you can use the combo skill with him instead, then it's okay. But if you're using both, I would be careful, because you can trigger the combo skill and do a lot less damage, right? This other skill, it's 250% damage, and for every 1% of health lost, it gains 0.8% extra damage. Which means that if you're in a safe battle where you know your WarGreymon isn't gonna die so quickly, you can lower his health intentionally and just proc the big damage and just keep doing that cycle. And that's what makes WarGreymon just do more damage than any other Digimon in this game. Like, I do think some LR Digimon like Omegamon could probably do more damage, but let's be real here. If you're spending that much money, you better do more damage. That's the thing, right? Most people are not spending that much money. So just focus on your WarGreymon if you want to have an easier life in the game. Now that the WarGreymon propaganda is out of the way, let me just go over some team building tips, because people do ask me about it a lot. First thing I would suggest, right, WarGreymon is good. You can use Seraphimon if you need a healer. I would suggest him because he's the better healer of all the Digimon in the game. Ophanimon is good if you need a or rather energy generation. I'm not going to suggest any other healer because none of the other Digimon heal nearly half of what this guy heals, and that's a problem. We need a better one soon, TM. But for Ophanimon, she has the role of giving the energy buff to one of your Digimons, right? So that is just inherent value that her skills have. For a free Digimon, you might end up using this in a lot of your teams, depending on what you're running. The next thing, like slot, I would suggest for your team, at least currently, is Digimon like Hercules, Kabuterimon, or Saber Digimon, or even Magnamon could work. Just a Digimon that has an attack buff, because currently buffing your WarGreymon is like the way things are working, right? And then if you're running with an Ophanimon on the side, you get to sustain the buffs and not have to like stop and have turns where you need to basic attack to get energy back. So, you know, this is a plan, right? This is a thing you can do. Is what I've seen most of the teams that do more damage than mine also. And after that, like you have 2 slots, so you need a secondary DPS. That would be very important. I don't think I would suggest any Digimon over the others here, because I feel like each person has their own answer to this question. Of like, who should be my secondary DPS, right? I would just mention some Digimon that I know are popular, right? Like for example, Garurumon is a Digimon that I see a lot. for people that are PvP focused, because you can damage the enemies WarGreymon really early on, get him out of the way. By extension, I think Digimon gets there too, but Digimon is a bit different in that he needs his skill costs more energy, so you're just gonna have a very weak, a lot weaker first turn, but a stronger second turn. I see some people running Titamon, and I think that he's good for shielding because it's based on his health. Not entirely sold on them, but he's an option. High Endermon is also an option. For some bosses, or rather some modes that have bosses with max energy, he has a skill that can do max damage to them. Machine Endermon has a decent attack scaling and a skill damage buff, but I wouldn't suggest him if you're starting now, because it takes a lot of investment so that you can like feel that he's a really good Digimon. Let's see. Or rather, Holy Dramon, I believe that she lost a lot of her potential when buffs started to become more relevant, so I wouldn't do it. Same goes for Hexablamon. I don't think he does enough damage on his own. So unless you're running a dedicated feasting, don't do it. Pinocchimon could work. He also has some energy gimmicks in case you want to use him. But if you're doing energy gimmicks, I would suggest Piedmon if you can afford it, because he's only available on the Battle Pass. Right here. And once you buy this, the Digimon that you get from here becomes available on the shop, right? Piedmon, I would say second best, or if not the best support in the game, just because he has a skill that on a chance can give another Digimon on your team an extra turn. So you could have WarGreymon but twice, you know? And for that reason, he's currently really good. Prince Manomon, I haven't seen anyone invested in this guy yet, which is weird, but I think he can be good, but haven't seen anyone have success with him. Same goes for Rustarenomon, but that's just because he's been released recently. Let's see. On the free Digimons, if you're looking for a second option from here, I know Phoenixmon can do some things as DPS. It can also just do energy manipulation. She has a skill that reverts the Digimon state to what it was in the previous turn. It doesn't revive, but it basically like refuels energy, refuels HP, and she also has a decent AoE. You can also use that. Metal Garurumon. He's a big maybe for me. First, because he makes the combo skill problem happen with WarGreymon, but also I don't think his personal damage, is big enough unless you make a team that's dedicated to him. And if you're doing all of that, you're probably losing out on all of this, right? All of this guy. Let's see, the rest of the options. Vigmon, I saw him work. I think he could work. It takes a lot of team building to make sure that he works. But you can make him do decent damage as an extra on your team. Hercules Cabuterimon, I already mentioned him as an attack buffer, but just know that he has a cover skill so that he can stop an enemy from dying, which makes him very valuable. But Cyberlemon has that on a passive. So just be aware. And Magnamon also has that. Right, so you have 3 options if you want that role. Well, Grand Kuwagamon. Sheesh, this guy. I feel like this Digimon could be really good. The only problem is that his good skill costs 6. And it's hard to use a skill that costs 6 over and over. Especially when the extra damage from his skill depends on the enemy having that data loss as a debuff, so kind of rough. Tiger Vespomon, I say that it's a better version of that, but not by much. It's a better version because his thing, like the extra damage comes from poison. And while he's really fast, it can give you results on PvP from being really fast. His really good damage relies on poison, so you might run into problems with that. Venom Yorosmon, they did him dirty. Bro just does debuffs. That's it. Okay? He could have been a lot better Digimon. And the same goes for Rosemon. I think Rosemon could have been a lot better. Both of these two are criminally misused Digimons that can apply a lot of debuffs and do things in that vein, but not good enough to be viable. Now, over the LR side of things, right? Omegamon, I would say he's really good, but the problem is the problem that goes with all the LR Digimons, and you should know that this matters. Basically, whenever you have a banner, I believe I mentioned this earlier, they can only do up to 10 pulls as a free-to-play a day. And even if you buy the pass, that gives you one copy of the Digimon right away, I don't think you can get max than +4 on your first, like on the first full banner you do. And the problem is that by the time you get a rerun, you're probably, like, your WarGreymon is gonna be way ahead and the rest of your team is gonna be way ahead. So they will lag behind unless you spend a lot of money on the Digimon. And that's my personal problem with most LR Digimons and why I personally haven't used anything, like, besides trying to use this guy before. Don't really use anyone because having to wait on a rerun to get like 10 more shards is not good, especially when the shards required to digivolve a Digimon, they keep increasing. So for example, right now I need 30, but by the time I get to +8 or +7, it's gonna be 40, and then +8 it's gonna be, I believe, 40 again, and +9 is gonna be 50. And that's not an amount of items they can reasonably get just waiting for banner reruns. At least by the time you do max out that Digimon, there will much likely be a better Digimon out there. So that's my problem with LR Digimons, right? Something they should be aware of. But Omega is really good in damage if you do spend on him. I believe he's just like second or maybe first if he's fully invested at +10, right? Stronger than WarGreymon. Dukemon, honestly, he's a support masked as a DPS. Like, he does things, but I feel like his scalings with defense and all the other things he's supposed to do make you build him more as a tank / support, right? Belphemon, I would say this Digimon is really promising, but again, if you have him invested, the things that he does in sleep mode can do a lot of disruption to the enemy team. So it'll be great in PvP, but not in PvE modes. I don't think so. Lilithmon, again, runs into the same problem, but I believe that I've seen some usage on her at lower investments because she can use a debuff that like gives a max damage that she can receive from one attack. So you will need to attack her multiple times to defeat her. Meaning that if she doesn't die on the first turn, she's useful, right? So there's a case for that Digimon, I guess. Besides that, I think I covered all of the available Digimon in this game. And you can just make, like, put choices for DPS Digimon and just run with whatever you see. And don't be afraid to also look at people on other rankings, or just go on PvP. You can just click on someone and see what team they've been running, and just get inspiration from that, right? The next thing I want to mention is that, like, after playing the game for 15 days, and if you unlock, I believe, 6 I think it is, the part of the story where you unlock the world boss as well, that's the big Venom Yotasmon, you're gonna unlock the card system. And the card system is really good, especially if you're playing the game, like you plan on playing the game for a while. Because these cards, they give you permanent buffs for all of your Digimon, so every time you get a few packs, you're gonna get a jump in power, right? And that's free to play, especially. The best thing about these is that you get to collect a few packs at a time, invest a little bit, get the starting bonuses, which are really high. And you don't have to worry too much about the long term, because you know, I think that buying packs after you've played the game enough and like got some levels on some Digimon is really not worth it. There's the added benefit of buying the packs for like getting the cards for one of your Digimon, like the WarGreymon cards increase WarGreymon stats. But honestly, the buffs are so low that it doesn't matter unless you way own this system. So generally just go for the average of random stats that you get from the packs. Buy each one of the smaller ones a little bit. If you do World Boss also, depending on your ranking, you're gonna get a bunch of packs, as you can see here. Of course, the amount of packs you gain depending on what day the boss dies in, so the earlier he dies, the better. The last thing I guess I want to go over, right, and it's just a little bit of economy. The crystal that you get on this banner, they do carry over. So if you decide to, for example, do 60 pulls here, and then you're gonna get this box with shards, right? And you're like, cool, got the shards, got the Digimon plus 0, I don't need anything. You can save the rest of the cubes for the next time and the next seller banner that comes. And the same goes for these other crystals as well, or these other cubes as well. So both of the gacha banners, you can save them for the next one. The last thing I want to go over is if you're in a situation where, for example, you have a lot of crystals, right? There's no current Digimon that you want or you're pulling for, and you have to level up Digimons like these that need a lot of legend badges, which are these ones. You can look for in the shop. There are gonna be a few of those for sale each day. I don't want to suggest buying them instantly, like when you're starting, but when you're late game and you have a lot of crystals and you don't like really have something to spend on, for example, on my case, I already have a team built, right? So unless I decide to switch the team and add a new Digimon here, I'm not gonna be changing anything. Which means that the crystals are disposable income, right? And then you can just like invest a little bit here and try to speed up the progression of your main Digimon that way. So that's the last tip. Now that all that's been said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it's a bit long, but I just put together a lot of things that people have been asking me. So there you go. If you have any other tips or anything you want to know about the game, just put it down in the comments and I'll be glad to help out. Take care of yourselves, okay? Have a good one. Bye bye.